Hello and welcome. This is Amanda Isabel, the Nerdy Crafter, and I'm here today on behalf of Pajama Crafter Stamps, and I'm going to teach you how to watercolor one of my favorite stamp sets that we have. It's the Lovely Bouquet stamp set. It was brought out for Mother's Day a couple of years ago, but it is one that I keep in my collection and I absolutely love, and it has a lot of versatility to it. So we're going to be watercoloring it in 3 different ways. I've done one video already where we did a spotlight highlight image, and in that video I also showed how to map out some light sources, so go back and take a look at that video. On this video I'm going to show you a new technique that I learned by watching an amazing person on YouTube. I will try to link her in the description box before, but it's a new technique for how to smoosh your inks, but with using a lot less water and really simply and easily. So we are going to be playing with some smooshing techniques in a very unique way today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to bring in my palette, because we're going to need our palette for this. For the colors that I want to use for the background, I'm going to bring in 565 blue, which is one of my favorites. Also, probably my next blue favorite is the 526, and I'm going to leave room in between because I need room for smooshing. And then let's bring in some 636 purple, and just depending, I don't remember, I think I brought in some of the 725 pink. It doesn't show up as well with this technique, but we're going to bring it in. I just realized that I had my glue open from my last video, so let me close that up, make sure I can find my pen. And what we want to do now is we're going to bring some water into our project. So it is the beginning of the day. We have not used our brush yet today, so we always want to activate our brush first before we do anything. So I'm going to take my brush. It's the only time that I go past the metal. I'm going to place it in the water and splay out my bristles. You may see some air bubbles coming out of there. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Be very gentle and nice, but make sure I'm opening up all those bristles. Tap that off. And I'm going to leave water on here, because I'm going to add some water, poodles of water, right around each of my inks here, because this is a smooshing technique with water. I'm going to then just pinch off the water from my brush. I'm going to set it aside because I'm not using my brush right now, but I'm going to bring in one of my images here, and this is what we're using for smooshing. So this is a plastic bag that you can use like for candy, gift bags. You can generally find it in the gift section at your favorite store. It does have a twist tie on here, but I just tied on a little piece of ribbon. It was in my collection. It makes it look kind of fancy. And then you may recognize this circle here. You can crinkle up, in the video that I watched it, she crinkled up a piece of paper towel. But I like this little scrubber that I get from the Dollar Tree or your kitchen section. And this just adds another layer of texture, and it got me that round look that she had that I couldn't master with a piece of paper towel. So I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to dab this in one of my colors. So I'm picking up some of that water, and I'm dabbing it in. So you can see there's a little bit on here. I'm just going to come onto my project, and I'm just going to tap it in. Smoosh it. There was another beautiful YouTube artist out there that came up with smooshing in different terminology that you may hear of in the craft world. Most of the time when you're doing this technique, you're going to need to have a heat source, blow dryer, a heat tool to dry this off, because you want to dry it in between each layer. Because we're using such a small amount of water, it's actually almost dry. All of those areas on my paper are dry. It's quick, fast, and simple. So I'm going to now use this. I can bring in a towel, a napkin, and then I'm just going to scrub that off so I'm not transferring colors, and then I'm going to grab my next color. Swirl it around, and then come in and just smoosh those colors in. Now I am trying to stay a little bit away from my large flower here. I'm going to come in and do a highlight image with that. So I don't want too many colors over that section. It's fine to have some, but we're going to do a highlight image there. I can clean in between, or I can just pick up my next color and just come in and start dabbing in more colors. You can add as much or as little of each of these colors. Now, since the pink is a lighter color, I will clean in between. But there's not a whole lot left over in between each of these smooshes. And you'll notice that I kind of put my darker colors down first and my lighter colors on top so that they can show. If I put them down later, they may not show. Clean that. I'm just going to pour just a little bit of water on my mat here, or if you have a spray bottle, or on my palette, and I'm just going to clean that up. Just spritz it and clean it up. Quick, fast, and simple. That's the way that I craft. For those of you that know me, I want to get in and get a project, get in and get done pretty quickly. So I am going to highlight a couple of the leaves that are around here. So I'm going to highlight this leaf, and these two little ones. So I want them to kind of pop out of this image that we've smooshed on. So I'm going to grab my 249. And so you remember what colors I'm using, 249 here. And then for the flower, I'm going to come in with two of my favorite colors. You can use whatever colors are available. If you like to do more of the blues, bring in the 526 and the 565. If you want to do more of a purple pink, you know, whichever one you want. So I'm going to start with a 725. So 725. And then I'm going to come back and just darken that up just a little bit with the 636. So the 725 is one of the few colors in the Tombow line that when you add water to it, it doesn't add additional colors to it. So the purple adds in a little bit of pink, a little bit of blue. The brown has a little bit of undertone of an olive. So a lot of the colors have more than one color mixed in it. When you add water to it, you'll see those colors pop through. The pink is the one that doesn't, so when I do use a pink, I generally do add in the purple or a blue with it to add in those textures and those added colors to it. So I've already activated my brush, so this second time I'm going halfway down, so I never go more than halfway down, and I want to make sure I'm not just doing the very tip of it. I want a good amount of water on there, so I'm dipping it halfway or, you know, almost about 2/3 in, and then I'm going to pinch that off. Now, when I pinch it off, I like to kind of get my tip to be nice and flat. So I want that nice flat tip there. That helps me when I'm picking up my colors and when I'm getting into finer detailed sections. So if I pull back in my light source with my leaves, I'm going to go right along the vein here and then just to one side of each of the little areas of the leaf. Doesn't matter which one you choose. If somebody is looking that close at your project for its light source and they don't like it, then they don't deserve your cards. So I'm going to come right along the stem and then add a little bit more. Right along the stem, add a little bit. And we're just going to go right on top of these colors that we've already put in. It's just going to kind of pop in. They're already dry, so that's why I can come in and add in the color. So I'm going to come in a little heavier than I normally would with my color so it shines through the smooshes that we did. I'm just coming towards the bottom here and right along the vein, right there towards the bottom. So for this one, I'm going to just keep turning my project to make it easier for me. I don't need to get my arm in all wacky positions. I'm going to go right along that bottom. So the vein and then right up the side here. And it doesn't matter if you choose the top or the bottom to go up against. The only thing is, try to keep it consistent. And if you forget and go the other way, it's okay. Just have fun. Remember, shake out your shoulders. Don't think too hard. Don't stress about it. Now I'm having problem moving my color now, which means I probably need a little bit more water. So I'm going to come in, pinch, and I can pick up that color a little easier now. So this is the next leaf I'm going to go right down that middle. And if I start seeing little pools of water here, so when I do that, that means I've got a little bit too much water. So these are my tricks. When I get too much water or it's not going on dark enough, that means I may have picked up a little bit too much. So I'll just pinch off a little bit of that water. Your fingers, by the end of the day, when you're crafting and pinching, you may end up with a little bit of color on it. But these are water-based ink pens, so they will come off really easily. Grab some Dawn Power Wash, spray your hands, some soap, or at the very least, just wash your hair. Your hair is a great exfoliator and will take any of that extra color off, and it will not dye your hair because it is water-based. Those are my tricks. Okay, I'm going to grab just a little bit more of my 249 here. And again, like I said, I am going a little bit heavier than normal, and that is simply because I'm trying to cover up the smooshing that I did. So you can choose to smoosh before or after. I like to smoosh before because then it lets me kind of use the smooshes to my advantage and pick where I want to lay down my color because of it. Perfect. Okay, so now I've got all of those done. So now I'm going to clean my brush. So just tip it in halfway and pinch it off. And I want a little bit extra water this time. So I'm doing half of a pinch. And then I'm just going to start moving some of that color. So I'm just going up against where the color was, and I'm just going to start moving it out towards the edge. You can leave some white. It's okay. So I'm just smooshing that color and moving it around. And you're going to see that because there's pinks and purples and all the difference, it's not a solid green. It's okay. We're just adding a little bit of color, highlighting a few of these different leaves that are here. Great. And now I want it just a little bit darker in those dark spots. So I'm just going to come back in and tap in a little bit more color. So adding the layers, adding some texture, adding some dimension. Having a hard time picking up my color, so bring some water in, pinch it. Just tapping in right where those dark spots would be. It's okay to pick up the color from the number. Use it all up. And I'm just tapping right along that main center vine and tapping in where I want a little bit more color. And I don't need to bring water back in again if I don't want to. So I'm going to leave the rest like that. Clean my brush, pinch it off. Now I've cleaned my brush. Sometimes I do it twice if I'm changing colors. Sometimes I do it once. Because pink does like to pick up other colors. Red and yellow are two colors I clean, and then we'll take a paper towel or a little hand towel and clean in between. Those colors tend to, yellow will pick everything up and turn brown. Red just doesn't go away. So I do tend to clean those a lot more. The pink is a lighter color than what I'm using, so it could pick up some other colors. That's why I take a little bit of extra to clean that. And I'm going to smoosh in there, grab some colors. Again, I'm working a little bit darker than normal because I want it to be able to build over the smooshing. And I'm just coming in and patting in that color right to where each of those petals are touching. So right where they're touching, that's going to be my darkest point. I'm not going in with a straight line. I'm tapping. Or you can do a flicking technique. You want to have jagged, uneven edges. One, it gives texture to the petals. Petals have different veins and textures to them. And two, it allows you to blend a lot easier. When I bring the water in, I'm blending the color in. It will allow it to blend a lot easier if it's an uneven edge to it. If it's a straight, flat line, it makes it very hard to blend. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute after we do this. I'll show you like a tapped edge versus a straight line edge and the difference in blending it. So I'm just going around doing a couple layers here. I'm still able to pick up my color. It's still moving really good, which means I don't need more water on my brush. As soon as I'm not able to pick it up from my palette and I'm not able to move it, then that means I need more water. For these smaller ones, I'm just going to tap a little bit in here. I'm not going to hit every single petal, every single leaf. I'm just tapping right when I get to that center. I'm going to clean my brush, pinch twice. I'm leaving it a little wet, so now I can start blending those edges, coming up to the edge, kind of doing a little scrubbing method back and forth. And I'm just rotating my paper. so I don't have to adjust my wrist. If I find that I'm picking up too much ink with my brush, because I pick up a little bit of ink every time, I can pinch it off. But if I do that now, see how this color is not moving very well and I'm scrubbing a little harder? That might mean I need a little bit more water. So halfway, pinch. It's a little bit wetter than normal to let me move that color. You will get to the point where you will feel the difference with the water, how much water is on your brush. I like to leave a little bit of white, and then I get to the center, and I just tap in that center. So that looks absolutely beautiful to me. But, again, like I had mentioned before, the pink is a color that is kind of one-dimensional. So to add a little bit more dimension to it, I'm going to come in. I did not even clean my brush in between. I am perfectly fine with that, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of purple. So now I'm just going to tap in a little bit of that purple. So on our previous... The doggies are barking in the background. On our previous one, I did purple and then brought pink in. This time, I'm doing it the opposite. I did pink and I'm bringing purple in. So again, I don't always have to clean my brush in between. Depends on the colors that I'm using. I'm not trying to fill in every single section with this, so I'm leaving holes both as, you know, when I'm patting in my color or flicking it in, and it does not need to go all the way across, because it's just another layer of color that I'm adding. Quick, fast, simple. Don't overthink it. Don't hunch your shoulders all over. Don't get really on top of your project. Just have fun. Grab some water, pinch to clean, pinch again, and then I'm going to push this color back so that the purple, the highest concentration of the purple, is back underneath where the leaves are touching. I do like a little texture. If you don't, go over it a couple times to blend that in so you don't see the lines. This is your project. There's no wrong way to do this. Just remember, you may want to walk away, let it dry, go get a snack, go get some water, let it sit overnight. Because these are water-based, you can retouch them up at any time. Until you seal them, you can reactivate them with water to add more color, to take a little bit away, to blend anytime you want. So I recommend before you mail them to seal them. Tim Holtz has a distress ink that works really well for sealing. I've used hairspray before. An aerosol can of hairspray will seal it. That way it's nice and sealed before you go to mail. The next thing we may want to do is you can come in and add some splatters. I like a little bit bigger of a brush, so I'm going to grab my number 4 brush for some splatters. So I've done some smooshing. So now I'm going to get really wet, and I'm just going to come in and add some little dots. This will add some dots. This will add some texture. It gives it more dimension. And I'm concentrating now over that flower because I want to see some little dots over my flower. And there's a couple different ways to get that. So one is what I'm doing by flicking. The other is to grab my pen. I'm going to use the back side of my pen and just come in and dab in a few dots. So I'm going to do just a couple with the purple. Don't want very many. Little goes a long, long way. Come in and add a few with my pink. And they're just random little dots. I do try to go in kind of the darker areas. Maybe I'll hit the middle a little bit more because that's where I didn't get a whole lot of my color. Shake that off. And now this project is done. The other thing with the green, if I want to add a little bit more to the green, again, go into those darker spots. Add a couple little dots to that. Just a little bit of dots. And now this project is also done. So close up my water before I accidentally have an accident spill. I use an old medicine bottle. When I twist this on, I can travel with it. It actually works really well for traveling and not spilling water. So if I'm flying on the airplane and I want to travel with it also, I just twist this on and then it's good to go. So let's put this one together, this card. And with this card, you're going to have some blue cardstock in your collection. So I like to always have a 1/4 inch border or an 1/8 inch border all around, which means I cut it down by 1/4. So I'm going to come in with my first cut, and it's going to be at 5 1/4. And that's going to be by 4. And it's going to be a nice little border around. And then I'm going to bring in our black that we have in the store. And I'm going to bring that one in. And I think I brought this one in the same. So I'm going to bring it in at 3 3/4. You can always take more. You can go down more if you want more of a border. You can do less if you like less of a border. So then I'm going to do by 5. So 3 3/4 by 5. That will give me that nice 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch all the way around. And then with my project, I'm going to bring this one down to 3 1/2. So I might trim a little bit off each side, but this one actually looks, yeah, I'm going to take a little bit off each side. So look at 3 1/2. And I will end up taking a little bit of my foliage off. So I'm going to come down. I want it to be 4 3/4. You can grab your distress ink, or I can just grab a little bit of my 969, my brown. This time I'm going to bring just a little bit of water in here. Yep, that has a little bit of extra ink on there, so I will grab my paper towel and clean that off. Now I grab my ink blender, and I'm just going to come in and distress those edges. There's just something to me about distressing the edges. It just gives it that finished look. I tend to do it on a majority of my cards. So this is getting a little bit dry now, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water. Let me pick up all. The puppies heard somebody drive by, so you may hear them talking in the background. So I love to add a little bit of extra water or the distressing to my projects. I just think it adds that little bit of extra. You can go as dark or as light. Finding more purposes and uses for my pens. So now that you know you can simply distress with any color we have, you can choose, if you don't want the brown, you can do the blue, you can choose whatever color you'd like. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my palette here. Just a couple little drops. I'm going to grab my paper towel or my towel, and I'm simply going to clean that up. Now, the one neat thing about these products, on your mat you're going to have squares, similar to what you're seeing over here for each color, is you really don't have to clean it in between. And when it dries, the back of my palette here, you'll see a bunch of the colors that I use on a frequent basis are here. All I have to do to reactivate these is add a little bit of water. So maybe I can't travel with all of my pens and I can only travel with a few of them. I can come in and scribble in some of the colors that I might want to travel with or use, and then pick them up straight from my palette. I don't have to have all of them with me. So some of those have been on there probably for over a year now, and I just keep activating them with water. And now I'm just going to bring in my favorite glue of all time, the Barely Art glue. We do sell that in at the Pajama Krafter store and also online. So if you need some of the world's best glue, it is my favorite. It dries matte and flat. And then my little Pocket Pal Froggy here is going to help me smooth out all that glue. Make sure it's getting out to all the edges. My Press Pal. Remember that the camera adds 10 pounds to glue. That's a very, very, very thin layer of glue. So you do not need a lot of this glue. A little bit goes a long, long way. Flip this over. Get that glue moved out so it doesn't have any ridges to it. So it's going out towards the edges, holding that paper down, binding the fibers of it together. Then I'm going to grab myself a card base here. Another fun feature that our little critters can do for us is help burnish those score marks. Just come in, rub that back and forth. Sometimes to help my cards lay flat, I might burnish it in both directions. Grab our project. Figure out which side that I want up. Just make sure it opens. Do I want the flower to be towards the bottom or to the top? I think in the example I did it the other direction, so this time I'm going to go this direction. So you can see you can go either way with it. I'm going to add the pin back into my glue before I forget, because usually I misplace the tip or the glue and then I can't find it. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in here so you can take a look at this card. Nice, quick, simple, and easy. That smooshing technique adds some beautiful texture to the background. You can keep layering and add more and more once it dries, but that is just a quick, fast, simple card. I didn't need to bring in a blow dryer or a heating element to dry it in between because we used such a small amount of water. It really made it go super fast. So that there is our second card. I hope you all had a wonderful class, you enjoyed, and you've got this to follow up with. Don't forget this lovely set that we have. This is the Lovely Bouquet set by Pajama Krafter Stamps. And this is the first card that we did. Little spotlight card, raising that up. So here are our two cards we have done so far. We've got one more card to go, so check back to our next video so you can see that last card. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.